All right, folks. Good evening, and thanks for tuning in tonight for my Zwift race. As you can see on the screen tonight, I'm recording this intro a little bit early for the live stream to give you some information about what we're going to do tonight. And as you can see on the screen, I am on the team Dirty Acez, and Team Dirt is taking on the Rocksteady Rhinos. And we are doing this race on Zwift in the club ladder league and racing on the Bologna time trial course. It's only 8 kilometers long today, or 5 miles in length, but once you learn more about this course, you'll understand my trepidation. As with anything on Zwift, everything seems to be a challenge for me, and challenges are good and hard things to do that add some spice to our life. So tonight's race is a ladder race where it's 5 versus 5, and I have the rules up on the screen here. Basically, if you're new to ladder, here's how it goes. 5 of your team members against 5 of theirs. It's basically a closed course, so there's no other riders on the course other than the 10 of you that are facing off against each other. Basically, one team challenges another team, and then the other team gets to decide kind of which course. But it looks like lately the ladder club has been selecting the course for the day, and then if you are racing on that day, that's the course. So it looks like today's course is set to this Bologna time trial, or the course du jour, maybe, as one might think of it. As for the scoring, it is inverse of who finishes the finish line first. So if you are in first place, you earn 10 points. And if you cross the line in second, you get 9 points. Third, it's 8 points, all the way down to the last person earning 1 point, provided they finish. So persistence is key, and sometimes riders have dropouts. We call them dropouts, so like Bluetooth or Ant will stop communicating the power of their bike to your Zwift machine, and you lose pace, or there's power outage or something like that. So really committing to racing on the team and making sure you have 5 riders that show up in the pen and complete is part of winning a ladder race. So tonight, the course is the Bologna time trial, and we're going to go to Zwift Insider to look at what this course is. It's the only route in Bologna, Italy. You start downtown, and you have what looks like relatively flat or downhill portion until you take a sharp right and head out of town up a climb. It's only 5 miles long, and I would say probably 3-ish miles is at that downhill flat at the beginning, and the last 2 kilometers is uphill. And when I say uphill, it is very significantly uphill. Here is the sauce profile of the course. So at the very beginning it's flat, a bit of a downhill. It's very tempting when you're doing this course. I've done it 1 or 2 other times. It's very tempting during this downhill portion to go very fast and very hard. You will end up burning out, because once you hit kilometer 6 kilometers into the race, you can see the gradient turns to red, which means 12% incline. So right from the get-go, there's a 12% incline, 9% incline, 13% incline, 13% incline. Okay, so as you may know, my body type is not that of a typical cyclist. You can see I'm big. On my Zwift Power profile, you can see that I have a pretty high raw wattage FTP, but my weight also is kind of up there. So my average watts per kilogram is really only 2.8 right now. I worked hard to get there, so I'm not disparaging that at all. I know some of you would like to be there at some point. I'm in category C, but what's happened recently is, you can see on Zwift Racing, my performance has been decreasing. So I am not really looking forward to this race from a standpoint of, can I compete against the other riders in the race. I won't do it now. I did it offline and compared weights and power to the other riders, and I am by far the heaviest, although my velo rating 1100 is higher than some of the other teams that we're going against. You can imagine my body type profile lends more to a sprinter, which has only happened, this shift has happened recently to indicate I'm a better sprinter, or more predominant sprinter, than I am time trialist. Typical of heavier body types, we have higher wattage and are really good at, some call those diesels, some call those locomotives, that can go at a very steady state for a long period of time at a high power output. So the time trialist works well, provided it's a flat course. As soon as you put it uphill, the Zwift algorithm kind of works against us and makes it very difficult. There are other debates online about whether it reflects in real life handicap of a heavy person going uphill versus a light person, and they've made algorithm changes to the different escalators in New York and other things to not handicap the heavier riders as much. But I have found it very challenging anytime there's a climb for me to stick with other riders in my category. Now, part of that is because in category C, which is kind of the second category up from the heavier riders or the beginner riders, the riders there are a bit more savvy at racing. And by savvy, I mean being able to know when to close down gaps, to stick with a bunch, to take advantage of drafting, when to push really hard over which climb, how to carry momentum. Some of these things that come with experience of riding on Zwift and knowing a bit about racing on Zwift, more so than racing in real life type of thing. So I want to go back to the course profile, because if you notice, I talked about this first portion of the climb going up to 13%, and then you have a bit of a respite at only 8% or 9%, and then even look at that, a 2%. So that's going to feel like a terrific amount of relief, except that we're all racing each other, to then hit a 16% grade. Okay, this goes from 7 to 7.1, so it's only 0.1 kilometers long. Imagine a city block, okay, but a 16% grade. The amount of time a person can lose in that one city block from a lighter rider coming up to a heavier rider coming back down, it's going to be a challenge. And then 13% for the second half of that kicker. You get to a flat portion, and yet again, you know, a little bit easier, 6, 7, 8%, 9, 10% here. In my case, I like to see courses that are kind of the opposite of this profile, where once you go up the climb, you have enough time coming down the climb where I can accelerate down the climb fast and close the gap. But here, it's going to be a challenge. So there's a couple approaches that we could take in terms of strategy, and I'm not in charge of our team's strategy. But given that it's downhill and flat, if I set high watts early and try to break away, it's only going to lead to a few seconds advantage on the climb. And each of these, this is going to take probably a good 10 minutes to climb. So it's going to be a challenge. My goal basically tonight, given the type of course this is to finish and earn at least 1 point. If I can beat one rider on the other team, that would be fantastic and contribute better to our team's points. So looking at our bike choices, Zwifter bikes allows you to set different, I pick the route, you set your rider settings to your FTP and power levels, and what type of settings you want for the bike selection that it pulls in. Basically, it's telling me to use my upgraded specialized tarmac with the NV 4.5 Pros or the die cut 65s. Now, if you see the time difference, 23:52, these add 1 second. Okay, I know lots of guys, folks like to debate about the best equipment on Zwift to use. In this case, 1 second difference on the time trial over 24 minutes to me is not going to make a difference. So as long as I don't use the heaviest disc wheels, given 1-2 second difference, that's the difference of being able to tuck into a draft and take advantage of more drafting or something like that. It's not, for some riders maybe this is super important if they always finish in a heads-up sprint across the finish line. 1 or 2 seconds might matter. To me, there's likely going to be a gap of I'm either going to win ahead of a guy by 8-10 seconds or behind a guy by 8 to 10 seconds. Once they beat me or I beat them, like, it's over. It's not usually going to come down to a photo finish across the finish line. So that's what we have on deck tonight. Dirty Acez against the Rocksteady Rhinos. It's going to be, I don't think it's going to be fast, but it certainly will be interesting because we won't have a lot of time to play team tactics and try to send a rider and close gaps and things like that. I think it's going to be fairly steady. Doug. I'll stay up here. I can't. I'm just going to hit the coffee button at the bottom of the climb, okay? Yeah. Boy, nobody wants to go. Yeah. One six. It's only for 0.1 kilometer, but it 13% on the heels of it for another 0.2 kilometers or so. Trying to make their guys work on the front, so stay behind them.
Dropping BC on the seat part. Come on, boys. Don't come back. Josh, here comes Murphy. Stand up. Yeah, easy. Oh my word. Oh, that was hard. So, 9th place, which means their rider's 10th. So I got 2 points. Doug got 10, Craig got 9. Gerald got 3rd, or the 4th. I think we won. Oh. Oh. That's hard. So we're done racing, and it makes sense to go down just to get the extra kilometers on Zwift to get more points or XP or whatever. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.